Hi everyone, in this video from Count Backwards from 10, we're going to talk about how to succeed on your anesthesia rotation. Now, these are just my opinions, and these are just some tips that as a resident and as a fellow, things I would be looking for in the medical students rotating with me that really would show that they're really interested in anesthesia. And so these are the tips that I have to really make you stand out as an applicant and as a student rotating in order to get strong letters of recommendation. Before we get started, as always, if you like the content, hit the subscribe button below, tell your friends. Otherwise, let's jump in. So the first thing that we're going to say is be on time, okay? And when I say be on time, I really mean show up early. I'm not saying an hour early, but if you know that cases start at 7:30, figure that before the case starts, your resident and or attending, whoever you're working with, they'll have to do a chart review if they haven't already. They'll have to physically see the patient, do a preoperative evaluation, maybe place their own IVs, get any consent and paperwork that has to be done. They're also going to have to do their own note in the chart, go set up their operating room. That involves spiking their bags, setting up their airway equipment, getting syringes set up, drawing drugs, and then gathering any other special equipment that they may need for their case. So be on time, be a little bit early, and be there so that they know that you're actually interested. Anticipate more or less 35 minutes for a senior resident, maybe more for bigger cases, and maybe younger residents. So you should be there early and ready to meet your resident. Be by their side for the whole thing. Like it or not, anesthesia as a rotation, especially if you're doing an away rotation, is not just throw an airway in and go to the next case to do the same thing. You need to understand why we're doing everything that we're doing. So you have to be there for all the steps setting it up. So if you know that the case starts at 7:30, we'll say 7:30 start. My recommendation, contact your resident the night before or the attending if you're privy to who you're going to be with. Find out what time they want you there. But if not, I suggest 45 minutes early, more or less, before the case starts, I mean. So, maybe you want to show up around 6:45. That way you don't miss any parts of the setup or seeing the patients. I can honestly say few things bother me as much as anyone, a resident from another service who's on rotation with anesthesia, a medical student, anybody showing up at 7:20 for a 7:30 case, expecting me to teach them how to intubate and then they leave. And besides all that, it's very frustrating because you're there to learn about anesthesia. And so to me, it's important that you understand all steps, the perioperative evaluation of the patient, why you're drawing up the meds you're drawing up, how you're getting your case set up, etc. So all of this comes with being on time. Now, that brings me to my next point, and that is show you care, okay? Now, I know this is kind of a broad statement that encompasses a lot, and this means things from reading, from being on time, but listen, I have been on rotations as a medical student, even as an intern, where all I thought was, oh my God, I'm on my OB rotation, I don't care about OB, please make this be over. So I understand that not everything is going to be the most interesting thing to everyone all the time. But if you're genuinely interested in anesthesia and you want to make a good impression, then show that you care. And like I said, this might mean being early, contacting your resident, reading about the case type, or maybe the meds. These are all things that they're going to ask you about. Why are we doing this? Why are we using this drug, etc. And I can tell you that I would never walk, say, onto a cardiology elective and not know the basics of beta blockers and common pharmacology and common physiology used by those physicians. The same should go for anesthesia. You should not show up to anesthesia without knowing some of the basics. And that includes basic pharmacology, basic physiology of the kind of day-to-day drugs and such. Also, ask how to help, okay? when you go in, ask your attending, ask your resident, ask whoever it is, what can I do? Can I set up syringes? Can I drop medications? Can I spike bags? Can I put it in an IV? How can I help? How can I get involved? Because that tells the person that you're working with that you're really invested, that you're really interested in. This brings me to my next point, and this is one of my most importants. You're not a mannequin. Your job is not just to stand there. Believe it or not, many of us who went into anesthesia did so because we like doing stuff. This means placing IVs, intubating, doing A-lines, bronching. We did this because we like to do stuff, and not everyone is going to just offer it up to you. If you want it, you gotta ask, okay? Ask to do stuff. I can't say all, but many people would love to teach you and get you involved, but you have to put yourself out there and you have to ask for it. Again, and obviously this is all personal, but when I have people there that want to get involved, I am so much more inclined to get you involved and to give you the laryngoscope and to set you up to do stuff, to place IVs, to try A-lines. But I love procedures. I love them. Don't get me wrong, I love to teach, but you got to tell me you want to do something or I'm just going to do it myself. More so than just procedures, not just asking to do things, but for many of you, the drugs, the tools, the instruments, a lot of these things are going to be new to you as a medical student. You don't learn about propofol as a medical student like you do about your beta blockers. You don't learn about rocuronium. Ask them to teach you about them. Ask the people that you're there with to talk to you about these things. You're not a mannequin and you want to show that you're genuinely interested in this stuff. Okay? So push. That doesn't mean be, obnoxious or irritating about it, but, tell them you're there because you want to learn and you're interested in participating. And my last point is that if you're looking to get a letter of recommendation, I personally think that you should ask the board runner or whoever makes the schedule to get the same person, either attending or resident, whoever it is, you're going to want to be with them for a week or so at least so that they can get to know you. Ask to get them on consecutive days. That way that you can show that you're developing, that you're growing, that you're doing more, and that you're really learning about what's going on. And that will give you more face time with them, and that will give them the opportunity to write stronger letters of recommendation for you. So, these topics may seem kind of broad, but this is really how I feel about it. I don't think it's difficult to be successful on your rotation if you really, really care about it. Be on time, be a little bit early, show that you care. You're not a mannequin, ask to do stuff, and try and get the same person for a week and then maybe try and get somebody else for another week or however long you're going to be there. Split it up so you can get those letters. So those are my tips for being a successful rotator as an anesthesia student. Again, these are only my opinions and are the result of my observations as a resident, and even when I was a medical student before, things that I saw that my residents and attendings like, and they're definitely things that I look for as a resident. I don't care if you guys know all the information or know very little of the information, but so long as you show to me that you're genuinely putting an investment in to learn and want to be involved, that's really the most important part. Again, at least in my opinion. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you. Contact us at Instagram at countbackwardsfrom10 or email us at anesthesiacbf10@gmail.com. Till the next time.